We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. To my right is the reigning and defending Scholars of Wrestling champion and Mr. Scholar in the Bank, the scholar of many titles, Scholar Tarek. What's up this week, sir?
I don't know whether or not to be angry or, in a way, kind of relieved, knowing that, I guess we'll just go right to it. Raw wasn't great, but I will give it that it was better than the last couple of weeks, especially compared to last week's monstrosity.
And that's not saying much. But then again, I suppose you already knew that the master of douchery, the Duke of douchery, I'm sure there are other nicknames in there that I'm just not coming up with. Scholar Bryan.
Adding on to the point that our highly esteemed Scholar Tarek just brought up, there is not enough clear liquid possible to wash away the memory of Raw last week. The first one that I had watched in full, sat down in front of the TV, actually turned on, just happened to be the monstrosity that was last week. And there's not enough clear liquid in the world to wash that away, so that is why brought out the booze.
Enjoy responsibly, scholars and scholarettes.
Unless you're watching Raw. In that case, drink away.
And make sure you call your Uber and tip them heartily.
Watch it at home. That's all you need.
There you go.
Especially with this one. Watch it at home.
Yes. But anyway, let's talk about the week that was, starting with the way we always have to kick off this show, with a little bit of what we like to call a backstage news.
Indeed. We shall go ahead, peek behind that curtain, and check in on a little
backstage news.
Backstage news.
News.
There's nothing exciting enough for me to go into my normal hysterics.
Try your
Fair
best,
enough.
man. Try your best.
Fair enough. Well,
come on, you have enough. You have enough alcohol in your system. You should try.
Backstage news.
Isn't it nice to take the champion's advice?
On occasion.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're not talking about actual championship things, sure, because your advice is meh.
That's a meh. But something that is seriously not meh.
All you want. It's still, you look up to my greatness.
I look up to nothing.
In all seriousness, we do have a bit of a sad, serious topic to breach today. Because as of the day of this recording, we got news earlier this morning that sadly the Dynamite Kid has passed away. I believe it was 60, wasn't he?
He was 60, and to tell you the absolute truth, after listening to all the stories about the Dynamite Kid, hearing all the stuff that I heard about the Dynamite Kid, I'm surprised that he made it to 60. With he was tag team partners with Davey Boy Smith. Okay, so you know he was doing whatever Davey Boy was doing at the time. Okay, we know that he gave so much of his body to the wrestling business that for the last 20 years of his life he could barely move. Okay, so... But quite honestly, the only story I remember of Davey Boy, of Dynamite Kid, was that story that Mick Foley told in his first book about the jobber match that he had against the British Bulldogs. And it was Dynamite Kid suplexing him out of his boots, and Davey Boy Smith hitting him so hard with a clothesline that he broke his jaw in a welcome to the business kid type way, because that's the way the business was run back then. You had to earn it in the most physical way possible. That's how the business was run back then. And apparently Dynamite Kid was a full proponent of that kind of attitude. But he was the first of the wrestlers that took their bodies to the limit and took their bodies too far. And it's sad that he passed away at 60, but it's also like 60 years after doing all that shit to your body and living the way that you did. It's actually pretty good. It surprised me when it said Dynamite. It didn't surprise me when it said Dynamite Kid dead. It surprised me when it said Dynamite Kid dead at 60.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was older than that, just because
from the way he looked.
Disclaimer: I was not watching wrestling when Dynamite Kid was in his prime. However, when I was watching, a lot of the people who really inherited a lot of his legacy were in their primes. From the British Bulldog to even Chris Benoit. I mean, that speaks for itself in both the best and worst of terms. Just the way he would put out his body on the line, and just his way of putting on a match. That sort of reckless style. That's a testament and detriment to his professional legacy. And like we said, the only way I knew him firsthand or secondhand as a current wrestling viewer was his physical state during his latter years, which was, for lack of more precise terms, abysmal. That alone should speak of his legacy. Hopefully, in the worst of times, his legacy should speak of the dangers of working in a certain way that I think we're much more cognizant of now. But in the best ways, it's putting your all and putting your passion into something you care so deeply about. And that's what I'm going to remember of the Dynamite Kid.
Yes.
I never followed the Dynamite Kid, but
I saw what you did there.
I had to do it at least once. So he never had an impression on me. So I really don't have anything really to add to it other than what you guys have said. Just what we've been learning from him, just what he's done to himself, and the fact that he lasted this long is an applaud on his own. So it's sad that we have another passing, but now he's in a better place. Did they do any memorial thing to like video package of him?
I don't know, because it just happened like overnight.
It's way too fresh.
It happened like legit after midnight on Wednesday morning. So I don't think that there was any ability to actually do a memorial. We'll see what happens on Monday.
The only thing I can see them doing is like doing it on their first one on NXT or something like that.
We'll see if they do something on Monday. But also adding on to that, just that was my problem when Daniel Bryan got hurt. Because I was seeing visions of the Dynamite Kid in my head when looking at Daniel Bryan at that time, because Daniel Bryan was doing a lot of the same things that Dynamite Kid and Chris Benoit were doing. So at that point, I thought it was a good idea for him to step back, do what he did for a couple years, because he was looking very Dynamite Kid worthy at the end of that run there, trying to do stuff that he probably shouldn't have been doing after the neck injury when he came back from it. And I was like, okay, this is good. Retire, or retire with the air quotes, take some time off, do your GM stuff, don't get hit, recover, and look at what we're getting now. That's a testament to being able to recognize that you're going about giving your body to the wrestling business in the wrong way. and being able to get out of it. Dynamite Kid, Chris Benoit were not able to do that. We finally have a story of someone who was able to realize what they were doing, take steps to counteract that, and now we're getting, I believe, the best Daniel Bryan we've ever had.
And that's really the best way I can think of to even spin this in a positive way. I mean, it's always sad when a wrestler passes away or when anyone passes away. But thanks to the legacy of Dynamite Kid, not just as an amazing performer, but as that cautionary tale, is why I think we're going to have the wrestlers of today, like your Daniel Bryans, those who have learned that lesson without stifling the passion, that same passion that Dynamite Kid had. Well, that I cannot help but appreciate and say, Dynamite Kid, your life experience may have been very, very hard, but you know what? Thank you for the legacy you left behind, because it's really bringing us a better future today. So, Dynamite Kid, we thank you. Godspeed. And hopefully you're with Hayabusa now putting on some 5-star matches. So
rest in peace.
Salute, sir. In the meantime, I believe we need to have another eulogy for this week's Monday Night Raw.
As I said at the beginning, it was a better show than the last 2 weeks, but it was a very low bar that they set.
I'll tell you exactly why it was a better show. Not by much, but it was because the entire show wasn't based around the heels just beating people down. That was my problem with the first one. It got so boring, and last week it was basically just 15-minute beatdowns of top superstars from the heels. Drew McIntyre made it interesting, but when you add Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin into the mix, it got boring real quick. Mm-hmm. So, the problem with last week's Raw was that it was so boring I could barely stay awake through it. At least this time, this Raw, there was some really bad shit. Let's not kid ourselves. But there was improvement in the fact that there was comeuppance, storylines continued in a meaningful way. It wasn't just 3 big guys beating down people for half-hour time periods at a time like it has been for the last 2 weeks. So, I guess it's an upward swing, not by much, but
still, as much as it seemed like it's not the best, they're just waiting to bide their time until the next big show.
Yeah, that's the big. It's the big problem right now, because there's no champion, there's no contenders. They're all hurt or out doing their own thing. So it seems like the Raw creative team just doesn't care. The fans don't care, as evidenced by the ratings. But there's nothing to fight for on Raw, and so it's like, why should I care?
Well,
you know what I mean.
To me, there was one small exception that I don't know what your reaction was, but to me, it sort of caught my eye because it seemed like something was going to go into this. The retirement match between Rhino and Heath Slater, or the firing from.
If you can call it a match.
But here's also
I was
the
more
problem.
Curious what was going to happen to it and how serious it was.
The problem with this is that, well, first of all, it's Heath Slater and Rhino. Not saying anything bad about that and whatever. But it's like they've barely been on TV for the last year, and one of them's gonna get fired. Whoop-de-freaking-do. That kind of deal.
On that token, yes, you're absolutely right. But when I first heard this match was announced, just out of the blue, for that exact reason, because they haven't been on TV for a while, with not too much light on them, my first thought was, okay, they're going to fire somebody. This is going to be their way to write them off the show. And with the way, given Rhino's seniority, it could be very possible that Rhino's going to release him. And it looks to be the case where, according to live results, they gave Rhino a bit of a moment. So a lot of people are saying that, yeah, this is going to be Rhino hanging up the boots, so to speak.
I can see that because of what he wants to do with his political career. He's doing he ran for, what was it, mayor?
Yeah.
He ran for mayor, he lost. But I mean, like, once you start that, you get the bug, if you will.
Just as politics came.
Yeah, so it's like at once he did that, and I knew the writing was on the wall. I just kind of wish that there was more build up to it instead of an out of nowhere, hey, if this person loses, he gets fired match. Why should I care?
Right now, the only thing I do care about now is the result of Heath Slater winning. He's now officially a referee. Are they actually going to do something with the fact that he's a referee storyline-wise? Or is this actually like, okay, so he's kind of leaving the competitive side and just being a ref?
I kind of
or is this actually a story?
I kind of want him to just be... I want him to be as goofy as humanly possible as a referee. Just a storyline where there's actual fun involved, please. Like, good fun. Like, not the stupid Drake Maverick bullshit where Vince thinks it's fun. But I mean, like, Heath Slater is a goofy ref just doing goofy things while people are trying to wrestle.
Someone threatens Heath Slater as a ref. Hey, back off, man. I got kids. Or...
yeah. I got kids. I just bought a pool. Back off.
I'll tell you what, even if this is a legitimate transition for Heath Slater, I can see him legitimately being good in the role. Like, he could very well transition for all we know. Mm-hmm. So, hey, time will tell, and it genuinely has me invested with this.
There's something for you to give a damn about.
There's one.
Not yet, because I haven't seen it yet.
But it's happening, so it's like, okay, this caught my interest. Let's see if they actually do something with it.
See, but then I remember who's running the show, and then I'm like, there's like 10% interest, 90%. I know they're gonna fuck this up. That's it.
But on the bright side, they did one thing. They did one other thing that caught my eye on Raw that I think they did right. And that is give Dean Ambrose promo time.
Dean Ambrose is Bane.
Yes.
And I love it.
Dean Bane Bros.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Well, it was like that when he first came out, but the second he took that gas mask off, it was a little different. But I still like the jacket on him. It actually fit.
And so in other words, what you're saying is no one cared who he was when he put on the mask.
Apparently so.
Okay, as long as we're clear on that.
Well, at least if you want to keep looking at comic book references in our wrestling storylines, sure.
Which I do.
And this is the problem with the internet wrestling community. Okay? They knew Dean Ambrose before he came to the WWE as Jon Moxley. He showcased some of those qualities on the actual turn. Mm-hmm. When he actually turned during that angle on the show after the tag team match. He showed Moxley qualities. So, the fans expected pure Jon Moxley. And when they didn't get it, when they got this, they turned on everything. They hate the entire thing. They hated last week. Last week was weird. But it was still the best part of the show, in my opinion. Last week, with him in the doctor's office getting shots, it was weird as hell. But it was the best part of last week. And this Dean Ambrose coming out with the SWAT team and the gas mask and all that was pure cheesy heel, and it's fine when you have somebody who can pull it off, as Dean Moxley. Dean, oops. As Dean Ambrose can. And it was, as I said in an earlier recording that I did earlier this week, that cheesy is fine. Okay. But it's all about how you write it. How if the person controlling the character, if the person acting out the character can actually make it work, cheesy is fine. As evidenced by this.
But it's also not enough to be true main event heel.
But that, and also, if you had given Dean, at the time of the turn, full control over what he says, what he does, and all that, then we might have not gotten Jon Moxley. Okay. But we wouldn't have pure 90s cheese Dean Ambrose that we have right now. Okay? It's all about how you present the character, and based off of the actual turn, how he did it, how they executed it, this is not where we should be with this character right now. Based off of the actual turn itself, this is not how this character should be. It's funny, it's cheesy, I'm down with it, it's entertaining, it's fun to watch. But based off of the heel turn itself, I don't get it. That's it.
Well, I would attribute that more to what's going on with Raw in general now. That just seems to be the sort of the standard for the time being. That being said, however, I think anyone who's expecting full Jon Moxley era,
you were never gonna get
not on a PG show.
You were never
WWE.
Yeah, you were never gonna get full Jon Moxley, but it's like when he turned, it was like you had glimpses, like there was something that it was serious, crazy Dean. Like he looked like he was talking to himself and all that. Like there were things there. Okay, but what we've got now is this dude who's just talking about every city he's in brings him diseases and all that. He's in a doctor's office getting shots while cutting a promo about Seth Rollins. He's coming down to the ring in a gas match, which, while funny, cheesy, definitely douchebag heel. So we're definitely on the right track in that sense. But based off of the turn itself and based off of the character traits he was exhibiting in that turn, I don't see how we got here.
Well,
to what he's doing.
To an extent, I can. It's just from what before the cheese, remember what he was saying about adding to the Shield getting the repercussions of their past actions. How Roman is now dealing with his leukemia.
Yeah,
that was reached the point where people were unhappy with how he's throwing Roman Reigns' real life situation into this storyline. I wasn't angry about it. You weren't angry about it, but there were a lot of people that were taking way big offense to it. And because of that is what changed their story. That's what changed their story greatly. That's what brought the whole doctor sticking a giant needle up Dean Ambrose's ass.
And that's why I have the big problem with the internet wrestling community, because they were the ones who were like,
we want more hardcore,
and then they got more hardcore. They were like, this is too hardcore.
It's too hardcore.
And then they sent him down this alternate path, and then they were like, oh, everything about this sucks.
But I will give it that yes, they did continue on the, as you put it, cheese. I didn't find it funny. You may have called that segment last week the best thing that was on Raw. For me, there was no best segment on Raw. that actually was a big factor that drew me out of Raw last week.
That was the only thing last week that didn't leave me like shaking my head like, oh, what did I just watch?
It did for me. And they kind of made up for it when he was bringing up the fact that Roman and Seth kind of forgot their path when they first started the Shield, and they started now wanting to become role models, and that Dean never changed what his internal goal of the Shield was, and that was to, as Seth's slogan is, burn it down. He wants to continue burning it down. Now that Seth has now become a part of the system, and he wants to burn that down. I got that. That if he continued more with that aspect, other than and gotten away from, as you put, the cheesy, typical, I'm a heel, so I hate your town.
I hate your town. Everybody here gives me diseases.
I hate your town. I hate you people type of heel promo. Then Dean will actually, in my opinion, reach that point where he would be on the same level as Seth and Roman. Because in my personal opinion, like if you look at all three members of the Shield, and if you look at like where Roman is, from all he's accomplished, he's already reached that point where he's guaranteed Hall of Famer in the future. You look at Seth, he's in the same boat, not as big as extent as Roman, but that's what happens when you have Vince McMahon on your ass. But he has earned that right, so now he could be that point where he can go in the Hall of Fame. And now you look at Dean Ambrose. He's just starting to get to that level.
So he's on his own right now.
It's the fact that he's on his own. But in my opinion,
well, then that's why he's so cheesy then.
But if he it's now he's starting on the right path to get to the level that Seth and Roman are. If it ended now and you just think Dean Ambrose Hall of Famer, it's only because the Shield is in the Hall of Fame, not because of Dean Ambrose.
Right.
But now, his turn was pretty much slowly becoming his Seth Rollins' turn on the Shield, and as long as the cheese gets either pushed down, because Seth Rollins had to go through cheese when he was feuding with Dean Ambrose, when Dean was the face with the exploding package of.
So what you're saying is the cheese is sort of keeping him back from being his own, being at the highest echelon he can be.
At the point where he could be looked at as a real top main event guy. He can be at that moment where like he's one of the main events of like WrestleMania, as like what Seth and Roman has done numerous times in the past.
So what you're really saying is that because you feel like because he's taken that sort of like a comedic like weird edge to it, that's what's sort of it's holding him back in the meantime.
There should not be.
So in other words, what you're really saying is the cheese stands alone.
How did you not know that was coming?
I'm trying to.
Good night.
I'm trying to put out a serious topic on this one.
I know.
I want to see Dean Ambrose put in that same level.
And you're completely right. I completely agree with you. I just couldn't.
That pun. You
couldn't resist.
You should have tried.
You should have tried
because I'm like it's like I said at the beginning of the show. I don't know whether to be angry or somewhat satisfied, because it's more in this case. It actually is making me angry because trust me. I wanted to laugh at that pun, but it's that point where I'm looking at this. I'm like, as long as they keep giving Dean Ambrose the cheese, now I'm going on with you.
Yes.
I don't see him as that superstar level as Rollins and Roman.
Because here's the problem. Okay, there's nowhere this feud. There should be no comedy. There should be no evidence of comedy anywhere in this feud. This is really serious. Okay, Dean Ambrose turned on Seth Rollins the day that Roman Reigns announced he had leukemia. Okay, that's serious shit right there. There should be no evidence of comedy anywhere in this feud. So the moment he starts getting shots in his ass, the moment he starts coming out with Bane masks, while possibly funny, while entertaining, okay, it has no place. for what's going on in here.
I
But
agree with you.
what does have a place, and what I do enjoy, we're finally getting evidence that Renee Young is getting pissed off at all the questions that are being asked of her about what's going on with Dean Ambrose.
You caught
So-
that too.
Oh,
So-
it's hard. It's not hard to miss.
I know.
So-
it made me wake up as soon as I heard that.
It's like a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, everybody was like, "Why don't they stop? Why don't they stop? This is stupid. She sounds stupid." And it's like, yes, but I think that it's going somewhere because they keep asking it. And just this week, they started showing signs of Corey Graves asking her a question and her going, "It's none of your business." So it's like, oh, it's finally happening. Are we getting the heel Renee Young turn on commentary? Or is
I
it
kinda
gonna
hope
be?
so, because
Is this gonna be like a thing where Renee Young actually goes into the spotlight because she beats the shit out of Corey Graves or something?
I could see that
She
only
finally has
really
enough.
happening in the Dean Ambrose storyline. Everything else, she's probably still that perky Renee Young, but when it comes to
Yeah.
Dean, it's like
Yeah.
don't cross that line.
So it's like
Don't push the Dean button.
So as
Smoldering old toad.
So it's like you have that part of the story where you're like, oh, why are they doing this again? And then they pull something like that afterwards where Corey Graves asks Renee Young a question and she's like, "It's none of your business," after the last couple weeks going, I don't know. So it means, so that line means she is in on it. And she's getting sick of the questions, and she's about to turn into a raving bitch, which is gonna be, which when it actually happens,
Could be fun.
which when it actually happens will throw another wrench into the storyline, and maybe the comedy will finally leave.
Yeah, I'm convinced it's not going to last long, just because it seems like, yeah, some of the writers might want to take it in that direction, but I think at this point, Dean Ambrose has matured enough as a performer and he's got enough clout as a performer with the big boss that if something's stupid, he's going to be less likely to do it, or he's going to have more ways to sort of spin it and attempt to make it more serious. I don't think we're going to get any more sliming or hot dog carts or anything like that from Dean Ambrose anymore, which it gives me hope.
And that's all well and good, but we should be able to get rid of the gas masks and the doctor's offices too.
Well,
So
I think we're in a transitional period. I don't, mark my words, that is not going to last.
And the one thing that caught my interest on Raw was that they are doing in the right direction is what they did with Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
With the Drew McIntyre Appreciation Night. This was the right direction, and as I said it with Brian the last time on the last episode, I didn't want Drew McIntyre to become just basically a lackey to Baron Corbin. The Drew McIntyre Appreciation Night was kind of that point. It was like, okay, now you're stepping from out of Baron Corbin's shadow and actually, in my opinion, being the top heel of Monday Night Raw. Not Dean Ambrose, not even Baron Corbin. He's the heel authority figure, but when it comes to the top heel competitor, that is definitely Drew McIntyre. And they had the video package, and of course he held himself high. He was great on the mic, and then you had Dolph Ziggler come out and basically end the storyline or the official end of, sad to me, the official end of Ziggletire.
That was my only problem with the segment. It was good up until then, and then I was like, oh, that's the way they're gonna end Ziggletire? I'm in two boats with that one. I was angry because I'm like, I feel the exact same way. I'm like, they've been pushing Ziggletire as this force to be reckoned with. You're not knowing what was gonna happen in the match. Not knowing what was gonna happen in the match, I was like, oh, So you're just gonna kill this shit off with one segment in one match? That's it. Because that's what WWE's been doing. It's like, you spent what 6 months basically building them up as the biggest tag as like these two unstoppable forces of nature as a team, and you're gonna kill it off with one segment in one match? Fuck off. That's it. And then what happened at the end of the match?
It was just not even just the end of the match. From what from what he said in his promo, you knew it was going to be that way. It's like, it's like you say you were the brains and I was the brawn. No, I was the brains. I was the brawn. I have the look. I have the whole package. I was just using you to get to where I am now, and that's the only thing you've done right. Congratulations, you did something right for a change. I've even put you in a spot that you couldn't get by yourself in the last 10 years. I'm just like,
ouch.
Well, yeah, ouch. But it's like, but this is good. This is good shit. I'm enjoying what he's saying. Minus the whole like, I didn't invite you because you didn't meet the height requirement. Yeah, because that's what we need. More height, just because he's a tall man.
That's what we need. More jokes.
That's what it failed miserably with Big Cass and Daniel Bryan. It failed miserably with Baron Corbin and Finn Balor. Why do we need to continue the tall shit? Besides, even when you look at them standing right next to each other,
they're not that different.
Yeah, it's only by maybe a couple of inches.
I'm like, they've got the same body type. It's just Drew McIntyre is a couple inches taller. Yeah, so it doesn't work.
It never works, and that's just the whole Vince McMahon frame of mind. It's like, they're taller, must be better.
It's no chance.
And then you get to the match, and it definitely did its part on making Drew look like this unstoppable force. Getting on the mic, saying how pathetic Drew is, and how Dolph is, and then. The big saving grace is Finn Balor standing up and being like the leader of the Raw locker room, face sidewise, him missile drop kicking Drew, making the 10 count right into they call it a super kick. I'm just gonna call it the show off, and give Drew his first loss since coming on the main roster, or coming back on the main roster. I wasn't mad at that, because he still looked strong. It had to take Dolph and Finn together to take him down to give him his first loss, and he got his makeup by beating up Finn Balor. Finn running all over Raw, helping Elias get Lio Rush, taking down Jinder Mahal. And then finally, it's like, Vince McMahon just looks at that like, Finn Balor getting a high note on Raw? Send Drew in, mess him up a bit. We can't have Finn Balor standing tall in an episode of Raw. We have to have him on his back as always. That's the one real negative thing. Okay, here's a Scholar's Quick Talk for you. Are we getting Demon Finn Balor at TLC against Drew McIntyre?
Better. Or else he's... No. If he's to have any chance at all of beating Drew McIntyre or looking strong, he's got to bring out the Demon.
But here's the problem. Okay, everybody knows that Drew McIntyre is winning at TLC. Don't even try. Drew McIntyre is winning, and once again, okay, it's TLC. You don't. I didn't agree with it when they brought out the Demon. I don't agree with it when they bring out the Demon at minor pay-per-views. And also, okay, the Finn Balor that we have now, the smiley going around, I don't like that Finn Balor.
I don't like that Finn Balor
So it's like, if he's going to be that character, yeah, keep him losing. Fine. Have him lose until he finally gets that mean streak back, and then you can bring out the Demon. You can't go from smiley Finn Balor all the time to randomly bringing out the Demon to face Drew McIntyre. Okay, he's gonna be smiling until the end of time, and until the shit. If you had brought out like a mean streak, like in the past couple weeks, like Drew McIntyre's bringing out the demon in him, or whatever, that's fine. Then you could bring out the demon, but he's still fucking smiling. So
hey,
no,
this was in a step in the right direction. It's like he's still smiling, but he's just going like, I'm still not taking shit from you guys. You may knock me down, but I'm still coming back because I'm going to be on the right side of history on this one. I'm not going to be on the side of Baron Corbin. To hell with that. I'm going to be on the side of Finn Balor. And he got his ass kicked. No shock. But he's like, when he had his match and Apollo Crews came out and helped him, it's like he's slowly becoming like the leader of the Raw locker room. He's having the faces finally stand up to the heel Baron Corbin.
And that's the Finn Balor that you need to show.
It's a step in the right direction.
That's the Finn Balor you need to show at TLC. The one who's still smiling but can still get the locker room behind him. Not the one who will be smiling for up until the end of time and then randomly pull out the demon. You earn the demon. And as of right now, the demon has not been earned.
That pretty much sums it all up.
And Nia Jax sucks. I'm sorry, her and Tamina are the worst.
Yeah, it's like we don't have to add anything other than that. We could just all three at the same time goes Nia Jax sucks and then move on.
On 3. 1, 2, 3. Nia Jax sucks. Okay.
And poor Ronda Rousey.
That
has to go through this trash.
Well, only until
the
man gets back from Namek.
Trust me, Ronda Rousey. It'll all be better soon.
It's okay, sweetie. It'll all be fine. In the meantime, let's switch over to a better show. Of course, we're talking about SmackDown Live and oh baby Daniel Bryan.
Talk about someone who
fickle.
Fickle indeed.
Fickle.
This
that was the best of that segment. Him just fans are starting to do that what chant. Fickle. What? Fickle. What? Fickle. They're sheep. What was it that he called the chant? A stupid chant from 20 years ago.
Yes.
And that got the crowd pissed.
And I loved it.
This made, like, in the long run, when I'm looking at this segment and what he said, him basically shutting the Miz down, is like, did you do what I said? Yes. No. Yes. No. I'm a vegan, you're drinking your plastic bottles and letting out your methane and ruining the environment and climate change and all of that. Yeah, touche.
Yes, and it's a choice of a new generation.
But it just the one little detail that he didn't even talk about until the end of the Miz TV segment is the nameplates were off the WWE Championship.
I didn't notice that until after the show was over.
And then when he pulled out those yes plates and just threw them to the ground, I'm like, this man is. It was so funny because before it happened, we talked about like it's going to be very, very hard for them to really like turn Daniel Bryan heel and have him be not the cool heel that you want to cheer, but it's just that one heel that you want to boo. It's like, yeah, the old Daniel Bryan is dead. He made that crowd completely turn against him. And when he took the AJ Styles out after AJ Styles in the Miz match, and then had what's his name say, and the WWE champion, the new Daniel Bryan, and then beats up AJ Styles again. Man, you did like. I applaud it. That you are now the biggest heel in WWE.
And this is the most interesting, to me, Daniel Bryan has ever been. Okay,
I believe it.
This is 10 times better to me than the whole Yes Movement Daniel Bryan phase. Okay, because that was cool for the 5 months that it was trendy. Okay,
I'll give it pre-WrestleMania. When he won the title. It was after he won the title, and then he had his feud with Kane and kind of killed his momentum.
Yeah,
and then he was hurt.
But
and then he had to relinquish.
Yeah,
we all know what happened after that.
What I like is that he took the WWE's decree that the Survivor Series was not about story; it was just about Raw versus SmackDown, and he basically said, "Fuck that." I'm making it a part of my story. Mm-hmm. Brock Lesnar beat the last of the old Daniel Bryan out of me, and this is now what you get. and so it's like, wow, that was so, and just the way that, once again, bringing back the mantra. Okay, if you don't give a script. If you let the characters work on their promos, if you give them guidelines, say hit these spots, but we're not going to tell you to say anything, just figure it out. Okay? That's when you get the real emotional performances. That's when you get the Stone Colds. That's when you get the Rocks. That's when you get the Becky Lynches. That's when you get the heel Daniel Bryans.
I'll go... I won't fully agree on that one because there were some points that did definitely feel like it was still script. He just knows how to say it. I just feel like he can get away with going off script because, like I said, the whole reacting to the what chant and calling them sheep that was off script. That felt off script for me.
But what
he was saying, the yes, no, and answering Mrs. Question, it felt scripted. But it was the fact that he made it feel real.
But
he made it feel
that's what script. But that's what I'm saying. Okay, if scripted is when you that is how you get those moments. Okay, you have the few and the far between that can make scripted work. Okay, Daniel Bryan. For those scripted parts. Okay, but it's those unscripted parts that get you the reactions from the crowd. The crowd knows when you're reading a script. Okay, the crowd knows when you've memorized shit and you're just saying it. That's why we're not getting the loud reactions these days for most of the performers that we were getting for almost everybody back in the Attitude Era. Because they knew that they were working off of guidelines and not actual scripted material. So they were like, this is shit that these guys are coming up with on their own, and they deserve a loud endorsement for that. These days, you don't have that, so you're not getting those loud reactions unless you're doing unscripted shit like Becky Lynch's performance during that invasion, and Daniel Bryan when he went off script during the promo last week. So it's like that's when you know how over the characters can get, not when they're reading off a script. When they go off script and they're going more by more guidelines than anything else. CM Punk got the loudest reactions of his era. Why? Because he wasn't controlled by a script. They knew it was coming from him. So he was getting the loudest reactions out of anybody. Okay, now, Daniel Bryan, okay, does what he did during that promo. Have you... Bringing it back, Kevin Owens, Elias, when they got that loud ass boo when they bought into Sonics.
Oh, brother.
Okay, I believe that was off the cuff.
Yep, it absolutely was.
So and listen to the reaction
that they were going to get that one.
Yeah. So it's like when he was scripted, and when he was scripted, as you said, did he get the reaction that he got when he went off script going off of the what chance?
In the beginning, he wasn't getting the reactions, but when he basically shut them up, and when he got back on script and calling them all, they're the ones ruining the environment and all that. Yeah, he did get that reaction. It was when he basically shut down the what chance. That's when he got the crowd basically eating out of the palm of his hand.
Exactly. Proving my point. You need to let these people be their own people. That's how you get the reactions that you need to get your point across.
Yes, and thankfully it seems like the promos we got, not only from Daniel Bryan, but also your Dean Ambrose sees. The more we see of this, the bigger reactions that the crowd will have, and eventually that will I believe it's trickling down to those in the WWE corporate. People are starting to take notice.
That's one. Although I will say, the contracts, the opening segment with the contract signing for the triple threat TLC match with Becky, Charlotte, and Asuka, that did feel scripted, but they were very good in expressing those to the point where they were getting good reactions. Yeah. And then when Mandy Rose and Shayna Baszler?
No, Sonya Deville.
Sonya Deville. I don't know why I was thinking that. But Sonya Deville came out. They were getting the what chant. But in my opinion, I actually really liked their promo.
Yeah,
I actually like that they're getting an actual decent push right now, because we need stronger. We need more than just Asuka, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch to run the SmackDown Women's Division. I'm glad they're building up these two as new top heels. Hopefully, Naomi will get her spot back, because she's a good promo too.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hope that they are actually building up Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville as top heels and not as cannon fodder for the top three, because I can see that too.
Well, from what, just leave that to the Iconics. With them getting this win and Sonya Deville getting that last spot in the Battle Royal and actually holding her own against Asuka, I actually think they're getting in the right direction with these two. Those, like, Mandy Rose is a good mouthpiece, because I like her promos now, at least the last couple of weeks.
Mandy Rose has been steadily improving
she definitely has.
Since they split up the team with Paige.
I wouldn't go that far. It's definitely more like when they're hinting that they were breaking up, and then ever since they announced the women's team in Survivor Series, and Mandy Rose called out on that, as she would put it if it was a
called that out.
It's like, this is bullshit. Why am I the odd man out in this one? And hopefully it's a step in the right direction for both of them, because, as you said, they are greatly improving. They weren't given the chance to improve once they broke up. Once Paige left them. They were just basically Iconics level. They were the cannon fodder. That now you have the Iconics. Now, I'm sorry. Once they bring in the women's tag team titles, which Sasha Banks and Bayley hinted at that horrible Q&A segment.
Yeah, that was bad.
Because it sucked the first time. Might as well do it again. Pretty much don't have a mic segment with Alexa Bliss and Bayley in the same ring, because it's just going to lead to disaster. But if you look at once they bring those tag team belts in, I don't see the Iconics being like ever women's tag team champions, because other than the Australia match at Super Showdown, they haven't won a single match at all.
I hope it stays that way. I'm not a fan of theirs, but you can't win them all. Apparently, the Iconics have proven that. But anyway,
Jeff has jokes.
It's like they're
I'm on fire today.
Like,
what can I say?
They're slowly decreasing in entertainment value, and they're
slowly.
Like
it's non-existent.
When they first showed up, and their jokes were so corny, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of enjoying this. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure, but I'm slowly enjoying it just because it's just so goddamn corny. But it's now
Talk about cheese.
Yeah, talk about cheese. But now it's reached that point where, like when they came out after Survivor Series to talk Charlotte, I'm just hearing them talk, and I'm like, they honestly they're getting worse. Even in the ring, they can't really take a bump that well anymore. Now it's reached that point when Mandy Rose came out with all the heels. All of us deserve the right.
Maybe three of you.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Maybe three of you. That's it.
So I guess really at this point, do we even Raw versus SmackDown Live? Do we even need to say what was the better show this week?
Oh, easily it was Raw. Come on.
Yes, of course. Any
Brian,
rational person
you need to
would
put
know
that beer down.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it making me say stupid shit again?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I said Raw, didn't I?
Yeah, you
It's
said the Raw.
SmackDown. Come on.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go.
It's like I said, Raw definitely had more ups this week, but it was a very low bar. It really was. Like, it had good moments, stuff that we talked about, Dean Ambrose, Drew McIntyre. That was it.
Yeah.
And then you had
There you go.
but it's just you had the good stuff, but it was just overpowered by all the stupid shit that was on the show. Nia Jax for one thing.
Basically,
Nia Jax
any female segment.
the women's Q&A. That's what actually
Unfortunately.
that made me turn off Raw. At least, excuse me, watching it live. I had to fast forward through that garbage. The Lucha House Party beating the Revival. It's now reached that point where I don't want the Revival in WWE anymore because they just are like, have them go all elite. Have them face the Young Bucks because that's something I want to see. That's utilizing the talent that is the Revival. I don't like the Lucha House Party at all. Every time they show up, I'm just that one fan. It's the one fan that's now a GIF of their reaction on Raw. Like, he was watching Lucha House Party, you just see him go.
It's like
That's
everybody.
the feeling of Raw.
It's like everybody asking on Twitter, how are these guys the faces?
Exactly. How are they? When you really look at it in the long run, the Revival of the face. They're like, we want to get traditional wrestling, but instead we get garbage. It's like Lucha House Party. And then the comment, you have Renee and Michael Cole going, oh yeah, they're just having fun. It's a good time. Copy and paste with the AOP, with the heels doing it. Oh, Baron Corbin is just corrupt with power. This is not right. It's dumb
The
shit like that.
system is not
and
working.
I will give the AOP, Chad Gable, Bobby Roode segment credit. They didn't have a pee joke in it. There was no reference to peeing. It was just now they're actually having a feud. If they don't bring up the peeing anymore, because like I said, when Chad Gable and Bobby Roode first came together, I want them to succeed. I like them.
I'm gonna need 2 weeks of no pee jokes before I
Exactly.
get involved
You got
in
one.
this.
You got
So
one
what you're
more.
saying is you're in doubt.
Boo! Boo!
Boo!
I like me.
Yeah.
Bad dad jokes. Boo!
Hell, I'm the dad, and that was a terrible joke. But yeah,
Like we said, we're all looking up to you.
you're damn right, you're looking up to me.
Uh,
And then you look at SmackDown, and there's just so much good. I don't think there was a bad segment on SmackDown.
there really wasn't.
Everything was being built perfectly for TLC. You had the women's, the triple threat women's. You had Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton. Rey Mysterio got taken out because last week he was wearing a neck brace, and Randy Orton continued with attacking the neck. So obviously he's gone, at least for that week. And you're continuing Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy, with Samoa Joe coming up and just at a bar. It's like, oh, you should know a bit what it's like being at a bar, Jeff. Continuing on that smugness of Samoa Joe. The triple threat match between Xavier Woods, Jey Uso, and Cesaro was an awesome match.
Yep.
Too bad Cesaro is once again being the fall guy here.
Don't worry, that just means they win at the end.
I sure as hell hope so. And then the Daniel Bryan. Seriously, everything.
Heel Daniel Bryan makes everything better.
Everything on SmackDown is just great. Well, except for Miz talking to Shane McMahon about them being besties in the world.
Man,
You know what?
he can't win
I
them all.
enjoy. I enjoy
Hey,
this.
at least it's just one.
I enjoy it.
I
have fun with that. I know where it's headed, so I have fun with that.
It's promising.
Yeah.
It's promising.
I'm just.
We
I guess
have
I just
to.
have to wait.
We
for
have
the
to
results of
wade.
that.
We have to wade through the shit to get to the rainbow at the end.
Let's hope so.
Of face Miz versus heel Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania
We'll get
for
there.
the title.
We will get there. But in the meantime, you've heard where we're coming from. You know what we think. So now we turn it over to you, our listening audience. Let us know what you think. How are these storylines progressing? Who's going to be the MVP going into TLC? We want to hear from you. So drop us a line all across the internet. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment, give us a like. You know the drill. Everyone does. If you're checking us out on Facebook, just run a search for the Scholars of Wrestling Show. Give us a like there. We love the support. And of course, if you want to join the conversation on a more personal level, you can follow us on Twitter, starting with our main Twitter account at ScholarsOW for all the latest wrestling uploads. You can also follow us on our personal Twitter accounts for all the latest on any commentary or memes, or just memes.
Memes are fun.
Memes are fun. Scott O'Brien, where can they reach you?
Speaking of memes, you can find me drunkenly rambling about Raw and SmackDown at Atomic Beanpool.
And Champ, where can they reach you?
You can reach me, the reigning, defending, undisputed Scholars of Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
The camera's down here, buddy.
The Avatar.
And you can reach me
If you watched last week's show, you would know why I was doing that.
And you can reach me at I'm Robbie Rage. I wish I didn't know that information. Check us out.
That is why you fail.
Yes.
And that's why I'm the champion.
And that's why you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling. You have just been schooled. You're welcome. See you next week for TLC.